So we're partway through the festive season, and I know we've all had enough of so much food, family, there's a lot going on. How about a nice, chill, calm walk around the plants and chat with me? Stick around and let's have a look. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So yes, today I thought let's just take an easy kind of mini tour around the conservatory. I've got you on the little rotating gizmo on my camera, and we can have a look around a bit of the space. I can talk you through what I'm seeing at the moment. None of this is there to stress anybody out. There's not going to be any kind of advice or tips. It's just going to be chatting through what I'm seeing, maybe what I'm going to be doing a bit differently, or if I'm expecting to see something different, what is it that I'd expect to see? Or if it's normal, I'll just tell you, this is normal for my space. Are you ready? Let's have a look around the space and let's just chat through a few things about what's happening in the space, what I'm seeing, and yeah, just a bit of a chilled video in what has commonly been known as the Betwixmas season, and you should be getting another one of these in about a week's time. But I am taking the big holidays off. Those would be my normal posting days, but I thought it might be a bit of time for me to just kind of decompress a bit and actually maybe just put my feet up for a bit. It's been a long year. Right, let's have a look, and I shall take you with me to kind of see some of my space. So you might be able to notice here, this is the, as I do this and the leaf drops, we're starting off strong. So this is the Philodendron, I'm trying to see, Splendid. And this is one of my propagations, and I think the other one's about ready to go as well. Yep, might as well take that off, both of these. But they did well over the spring and summer. This is a plant that usually just throws a bit of a wobbly at this time of the year, so I'm expecting a couple of yellow leaves. There are, if I'm not mistaken, some healthy leaves at the top, but this is the time when I will lose a few of its leaves. You might not be seeing an awful lot of the lower leaves, but it's lost that over the years. But you can see, however, the Philodendron esmeraldense is doing really well. This is a leaf that's a bit too in the way here. Like, does anybody else get that when you're doing your planty chores and you're kind of having to like limbo and dodge around plants? This is this one for me. But one of the things you might be noticing, if I lift that leaf up a bit, is down here it's a bit more bright now. So the epipremnum corner has now got some new grow lights that I've put on there. And those are ones that I've put in relatively recently because they were further down on the shelf. I've got some new grow lights. I've got some Barina grow lights recently, and they're doing quite well, but it's also meant that I've had, oh, I know, first of all, problems, but I've had an excess of grow lights. So I'm just like, where am I going to put these slightly or very weak grow lights? Those are the kind of grow lights that go into a USB, and they're a bit of a strip. They're very cheap from Amazon, and they were from a few years ago. To be fair to those ones specifically, I did buy a bunch of them, and most of them haven't made it past a year or two, but those are doing well actually at the moment. So I'm just like, you know what, as long as you survive, you can be above the epipremnum corner, because this time of the year, it's all looking a bit less than perfect, but it's that time of the year. It's not everything is going to look perfect. You might see here at the top one of the leaves. This is from the Philodendron Heleniae, subspecies Heleniae. You can see more of that esmeraldense there. Ooh, and that kind of disattached from there. It's all still attached to the plant, but and then we've got the UPI. Its very oldest leaf, that is literally the bottom leaf, is now kind of perishing. But saying that, that plant has had that leaf for nearly 2 years now. So 3 years maybe? 3 years maybe. But other than that, some of the Anthuriums that are up here. So one of the Anthuriums is my Piranha Anthurium. So the variegated Anthurium is doing exceptionally, I say exceptionally well. I'm so used to saying that it's doing well. It's doing okay. It's surviving because at this time of the year, it's not getting probably the light level that it needs, but it's doing okay. To give you an idea, this has kind of transitioned to something that needs watering once every 2 or 3 weeks, considering that it was getting watered once every week before. But yeah, another one that's right here is the Anthurium esmeraldens, and it's doing quite well. This is one of its newest leaves, and you can see they're really dark when they come in. And it's got that maroonness at the back. Apologies if you can see the remote now. I had the swivel thing on the camera on automatic and it just swinging a bit too much. It'd be easier with me doing it with the remote, basically. The other thing is the Curtisperma, which is always a bit dramatic at this time of the year. And warts and all, you know my channel. It's not looking its greatest, but the same thing goes with the fact that you can see some of the newest leaves at the bottom. They're doing all right. They're doing okay. This always looks horrendous at this time of the year. But I know a lot of people end up losing their Curtisperma johnsonii entirely in the winter. And actually, I've just noticed there is a new leaf that's about to emerge there. So there is hope for this plant. It's just this is not the time of the year where it generally loves life. Also, this is one that will have a water reservoir for me in the spring and summer. At the moment, it's just getting watered very infrequently, but enough to keep it going without essentially causing root rot with this. Because I do think, at least partially, this is maybe a marginal plant, but it also doesn't like to stay sapping wet over the winter. That's how you end up losing them. So that's what I've learned from this over the years, is just let it be. Don't look at it too much. The leaves are okay. They're a bit yellowy. They're a bit burned because it's so high up. But it doesn't look its best at this time of the year, but it does what it needs to do and it's fine. Now, another really exciting update that I've had actually recently, and I don't know if anybody's watched one of my recent repots with me, and it was very sad when somebody asked, just like, what would you like to get as a Christmas gift in terms of something planty? And I said, really? Just a plant? Nobody ever buys me plants. I don't know if anybody else, I think some people said they're the same actually. The people don't attempt to buy them plants. They get like paraphernalia and stuff, but we never really get plants. And I'm just like, I just like a plant. It doesn't need to be anything special. I could have this plant now. I could have it before. I could have multiples. I don't mind. It's just a plant, that excitement of getting a plant. Years later, I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and it still excites me. And I am a very strong believer that if you put something out in the universe, it will happen. Let me present you, and I know there's people going to be laughing about this in the back, but let me present you a brand new gifted, this happened this weekend, literally, and this was obviously like a supermarket purchase, but that's absolutely fine, and I've grown it before. This, as far as I can tell, is a mini spathiphyllum, or mini peace lily. I'm assuming it's mini. There was absolutely no labeling on this when I got it, because obviously it was meant to be a gift. So I haven't grown a spathiphyllum for a very, very long period of time. If you've got any questions about spathiphyllums and you want to ask them, do drop them down below. I have some experience with them. Have I been able to get them to always bloom consistently? Yes and no, but it can be quite tricky for the people that don't know. I think it's a gibberellum or gibberellin is something that they put on to a lot of the peace lilies to kind of induce blooming so they can bloom at any time of the year that the grower wants it to, so they can easily kind of present it to you with flowers or inflorescences technically in the supermarket, and you can purchase it. So and it usually can take a few months to even a year for that to kind of warm down a bit. The plant starts growing happily where it needs to be growing, and it's getting enough of everything that it needs in order for it to push out another flush of flowers. So you might be waiting for a long period of time after the initial flowers when you purchase it, but that is kind of to be expected based on what this plant has been through before it gets to you, if that makes sense. And the other reality is that you will never, generally speaking, unless you have got the most ideal conditions, get as many blooms as one time as you would have done from when you first got it, because the grower would have artificially instigated those blooms, and it's highly unlikely that to the same level you'd be able to replicate that internally. And that's absolutely fine. There is something to be said about letting the plant do what the plant needs to do. But yes, I got a planty gift, sorry. Small things in life, but they still make me very excited. On the point of new plants, listen. I did not pay for these plants, huh? So technically, I did not buy plants. This was recently, this was probably a couple of weeks ago now. But again, for the people that have been here for a while, I've got a local garden centre that kind of is close to my home, and you can see one of my grow lights I've switched off, otherwise you'd get blinded at this point. And it's, I'm always buying kind of planting material from there, and a lot of things that I need, I'll just pop there and get it really, really quickly. The good thing, depending on how you look at it, is they've got a loyalty card, which you collect points on, and you can kind of use them at some point. It's annoying because before it used to be you could collect them for as long as you wanted, and then at some point you could redeem those points. I think at some point, based on how nervous, and this is a relatively big garden center, by the way, like huge, how nervous they were getting at some point. They're just like, are you going to spend them yet? We were talking triple digits at this point, and I'm just like, no, I'm still waiting. At that point, I wanted to buy a barbecue, like an expensive outdoor gas barbecue. Did not happen because I think at some point the business just went, right, no, everybody who's got points, you need to spend it by Christmas, and that was last Christmas, which we all did. I did not have enough, so I bought other bits and bobs. But they've done it so that the points only last for a year now, so I knew coming into December I needed to spend the points. I'm just like, oh, what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna buy some plants with the points. Did not spend any money, just to be clarifying here. But I did get some really cool things. Let me show you. So the first thing I got was the Rhaphidophora puberella, I think, variegated, and it's a very, very cool plant. It's very unusual in its growth pattern. It kind of has long, strappy-ish leaves, and it's got some interesting variegation. And I understand the variegation is not for everybody. I've given this a moss pole. It did not come with a moss pole. I've kept it in the grower's media, and I'm just going to let it kind of fully dry out before I water it. I had bought from the same garden centre a while back a smaller version of this plant, and it's been growing okay. I've had a new grow light on it recently, and I'll show it to you. But it is diddy in relation to the big Mama Jamma. So I'm just like, you know what, do I need a second one? Probably not, but considering this has been one of, and I know some people have said this is a very fast growing plant in their collection, but I think mine really wasn't getting much light. You can see some of it was not getting much variegation, considering what the variegation looked like on its previous leaves. It's getting a lot more light now, so that whiteness is coming back, but this has been very, very, very slow. It hasn't changed very much in a few months. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm a cheat. I'm going to go for the bigger version and see how it grows, because I've actually enjoyed growing it. It's a very slow growing plant. You can kind of see the growing stem there. I really wanted to attach to something. I think the reason why this got bigger leaves is because you can see some of those aerial roots went into the soil media. So I thought if I give it a bit of a moss pole, it will attach. And Rhaphidophoras generally tend to be happier on a moss pole. It's not necessary for a lot of them. They're one of those adaptable plants that could be quite nice, basically, to kind of just grow on a janky support stick if you wanted that as well. But yes, so that's one. The next one is a little baby plant, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the hybrid of the, and I'll show it to you up close so I can stop yammering on. You can kind of see, look at the fuzziness, look at it, look at the fuzziness. This is the Philodendron squamiferum crossed with the Philodendron serpens. So I do have the serpent somewhere. I have not had a squamiferum for a few years now, but I've got this underneath one of my Barina lights, and it seems to be enjoying itself quite a bit. It's taken a while to kind of get going. I did put it into a clear pot just purely because I want to be able to kind of pay attention to what is happening, especially at this time of the year, and especially with a plant like this. Yes, when it does get a bit more established, this will be going onto a moss pole, because both the squamiferum and the serpents, I haven't ever grown on a moss pole. I've grown on janky support sticks, and both of them do get larger without needing a moss pole. I do think, having seen a few people growing them on moss poles, that happens faster and more consistently on a moss pole. So I want to try it. Whether or not that's going to happen and whether or not I could be bothered to do it, I don't know. But it's doing okay. It's doing really, really well. It's still very early days, but very, very cool plant. And I've left the best for last because this has been a plant that I've been wanting for a very long time, and it's been on my wish list for a few wish lists now, I think. And I think I've had it on the wish list here as well, because a lot of times the wish lists that I do here are very much trimmed down considerably, because otherwise we might all be doing, you might be watching a video and I might be editing a video that's probably over 3 or 4 hours long. My list is never ending. But this plant has been on the list for a very long time, and I never thought I was going to A, find it at a local plant store, or B, find it for a relatively affordable price, because this has been tricky to find. It's not been stupidly expensive, and I know a lot of people have had issues with this, so I'm not holding my breath that I'm going to do any better than anybody else, because I know that they're fussy. But oh, what am I forgetting? It's the turtle. Huh. I am completely drawing a blank because obviously Holiday Brain is not engaging. I'll put the name up there. The turtle back something, basically. It's the turtle back is obviously the commercial name. I would imagine it's not the botanical name. I've struggled to find the botanical name for this. I know the genus, I do not know the species, so to speak. But, oh, Libicea turtleback. I'll put it at the top there. Very, very, very cool. And Libicias generally are very cool. And I know that there's other ones out there, but I specifically wanted to get the turtleback one first. And then I might see how I get on with this. And if I can kind of dial in its care, then I'll see about getting some of the others, because they've all got very interesting foliage. I know they are slow growing. I know they also don't like super, super, super bright lights, which I'm not giving it super, super bright light. I've put it into a clear pot purely because I know that this can be temperamental at times based on what I've heard from other people. But yeah, I am so happy to have this. For the people that don't know, I used to have turtles and tortoises growing up. I had both, the ones that are in the water and the ones that are on land, for many years as a child. So anything that's kind of turtly, I'm here for. But those are the kind of new additions to the collection, unexpected additions, because I wasn't planning them, but free plants. I'm not going to say no to free plants. But you can see behind me here, this is the Anthurium bellatus. I think there's another name, and I'll see if I can put it at the top there. And some people might have noticed there is some browning that's kind of speckled on there. I honestly do not know what it is. The leaf otherwise is very healthy. The other leaves on the plant are also very healthy. I am surprised at this time of the year that this plant is doing as well as it is, because usually in the winter it will lose most of its kind of leaves. So hopefully you can see that nicely there, what the leaf looks like. That's a really cool shape. I do not know. I've not had pests in here, and nothing that would have caused this kind of damage. So I don't know if it's a mechanical bit of damage from the summer. This has been like this since the summer, by the way. But I don't know what's causing that. And actually this one's got it as well to a certain point. I do not know what's causing it. There's no real pests on this. Nothing that would have caused this type of damage. If anybody's kind of seen that before and they want to share what it is, do let me know down below. I'm very curious. The other thing you can see here is my Tversia, and I always get this wrong, and I say palmata, which is the one that I really, really want, but it's very difficult to find. This is the Tversia burkii, if I'm not mistaken. The really shocking thing about this is this is a plant, and I don't know whether or not I can get you to pan up. Oh, I can. You can kind of see the tops there at the very top. This isn't a plant that at this time of the year ever gets new leaves. It kind of just survives through the winter. It doesn't get worse, it doesn't do anything exciting, it just survives the winter. This year, I've got multiple growth points that have happened in the last couple of weeks, and it looks like I might be getting at least 2 new frondy leafy things. So one of the things that I do want to do here, and I'll bring you back down again, is this shelf, and I'm hoping to do some plant room kind of admin over the holidays if I can get around to it, is I want to see about maybe bringing this shelf a bit down. I don't know, just to give this a bit more space, or I've got other shelves on the other side and I don't know how much I'm going to be able to turn around to show you. This is getting blasted by the grow light that you're seeing behind me, which is very, very bright, but it's fine. My Anthurium vichii has got so many new leaves that are big, even bigger than this and completely healthy that I don't mind losing this at this point, but this has been getting blasted for months now and it's still surviving. So it's bleached, yes, but at some point it's going to drop off and this will be a bit easier to kind of see. You might be able to see some yellowing leaves. There's going to be a lot of yellow leaves. This is the time of the year. It happens. On my Vitarifolium, very, very old leaf. This probably was one of the leaves that this plant came with me to this house. And this is one of its earliest, longest leaves. And this is dying off. Those two leaves are dying off. But there's so many healthy leaves. It had an inflorescence that I chopped off. I am not pollinating my Vitarifolium again. I've done that already. I don't need to do it again. But it's doing relatively okay for this time of the year. It's going to lose a couple of yellow leaves. That's fine. That's normal. Nothing like that stresses me out. This new leaf you might be able to see here is the Philodendron Esmeralda Spirit. This is the cross between the Esmeraldense and the Spiritus Sancti. And I'm surprised that it brought a new leaf. Let's put it this way. This new leaf has been emerging and it's still hardening off for the last 2 months. This is what happens at this time of the year. It's normal. The Sharonii behind, I do need to kind of, at some point, chop up and propagate it a bit more. I just haven't got round to it. This is the time of the year where all of this just gets a bit much. Let me show you something else as well, which I repotted recently, as in like a day or two ago. This is the Anthurium scalprum, I think. And it's doing okay. The problem was this wasn't a much larger pot. And I knew that it had rotted out some of its roots, but I'm just like, I don't want to make you like struggle even more. These leaves were almost entirely curled up on themselves the other day, but it's rehydrating now. So actually moving into a smaller pot so that the roots have a chance to not rot is a good thing. And I know a lot of people have said this is one of their easier Anthuriums. I would agree. I would also say this is probably one of the most painfully slow, not Anthuriums, oh my God, Alocasias. Memo. I'm telling you, holiday brain, not a good thing. One of my easiest Alocasias-ish, but also very slow. Like I maybe get a new leaf on the 2 or 3 new leaves on this every year at most. Tell me if yours is faster than that, because it's probably been struggling for a while, so I don't know. But this is doing okay. It's doing better now that it's in a smaller pot, and I would expect that it's going to get even better. One of my little baby, and I haven't shown these for a while, one of my little baby orchids is doing okay. I can't remember which name this is. I'll see if I can add it somewhere. This one's doing okay. This one is doing a lot better than the other one. I'll show you the other one. This is doing okay in this little terrarium. I haven't got a flower spike or anything like that. I haven't had any rot touch wood on this. So it's doing okay. It's literally like, if you look at it clearly, it's like, I've got like little like dirt on my hands. It's like a little, if I turn it around, that might make a bit more sense. Look, it's like a little baby Phalaenopsis orchid, almost. It's so diddy. But so that one's doing okay. That one was always more hardy, I found. The other one that was much more crawling and it looked like a serpent, I'll show you what state that one's in. I don't have high hopes that any of that is going to survive. So can you see all the dark brown? Those were all the old leaves. There is a tiny bit of green somewhere there that you might be able to see if it will decide to focus. Possibly. If not, I'll see if I can add an image on there for you. I don't think this is going to make it. I moved it onto Dam Sphagnum moss, I think, too late. So it's a shame. But I knew when I spoke to, and I can remember the lovely individual at Malvern that was selling the orchids. But he mentioned that it's not a beginner orchid. It can be quite fussy and it can be very specific. So I knew the risk going into that. But I still wanted to try growing it. But everything I was seeing online is that the other one is easier than this one. So we'll see. But overall, doing mainly okay at the moment. There's issues, there's always going to be issues. You might be able to see here, I don't know whether or not that's picking up on camera, possibly a bit of the redness that you're seeing there from the Esmeralda Spirit, but that's only one leaf. The other leaves are doing okay. That might be a light issue. I'm not entirely sure. It happens. I don't know everything. So by and large, it's okay. None of this is stressing me out during this period. The point of this slightly more relaxed video, hopefully, is to not stress anybody else out just by seeing what's happening. This is normal. This is completely normal. I've said this in other videos. This is completely normal. So it's not anything that stresses me out. This time of the year, this happens. But there's still new growth points coming in. There's a new growth point right here for the Esmeraldens, the Philodendron Esmeraldens. There's another one in the very back, which is annoying because it was touching the grow light, so the very tip has got burnt because it hasn't even started unfurling yet, so that's a bit annoying. But I've got so many big leaves from the Esmeraldens, I'm not that bothered. But by and large, most things seems to be doing okay. The Anthuriums at the bottom with the heat mat, and I'll show you one that's doing well. You might not think this is doing well because some of this is looking very, very, very busted at this particular moment in time. But all the other leaves that used to come out, because it's meant to have 3 little leaflets on it, would either drop 1 or 2 of the leaflets, it would start crisping and everything else. This is the first full leaf that has unfurled in its entirety, and it is currently hardening off. So hopefully this will do well now that it is, and it's showing good signs that it's doing well now that it's in a grow, like a heat mat essentially. And I know there's been a few people actually that have asked about the orchids, have I got any flower spikes happening on any of them? Nothing on the brassavolas, and to be honest, I think with the exception of maybe last year, for the first time ever, I got a flower spike or 2 flower spikes on a brassavola orchid. I've always struggled with them, and I know so many people have had good successes with them. I don't know whether or not in the US and Canada maybe you get bigger, more established plants, but the ones that we're finding here are very, very small, and I don't know whether or not it takes a long time for them enough to mature to then start blooming. I don't know. So those ones don't have any flower spikes at the moment. I think it's a Masdevallia that I've got that I'll take a picture and show you because it's very high up and you probably won't see it. Has had a bit of rot this time last year after it bloomed. But again, this year it's the, I want to say little baby, it's like Twinkle something. Twinkle something. I'll put the name up as well as an image here. That one bloomed last year, it bloomed the first year, it has bloomed consistently. It's around this time of the year, it's around Christmas, and it usually annoys me because it's usually in bud the whole time over the holiday season. And then just as I usually go to Greece to visit family, because I always do it at the beginning of January, I miss the blooms entirely. And by the time I come back, the blooms are still there, the blooms have opened up, but they're kind of dying back. So I almost invariably miss out on it. But that's doing the same thing again now, and it's not looking great. The bulbophyllums, there's been no new flower spikes. I know I showed the small ones, and I know somebody was asking. None of the bigger bulbophyllums have had any bloom spikes currently. We'll wait and see on those, but yeah, I think that's everything. I wanted to kind of it's just a bit of more of a casual chat around the space and kind of a bit of an update this video, because I know not everybody's kind of in the right space of mind to be doing anything too strenuous around this time of the year. And if anything, hopefully this has given you a bit of a distraction of either boredom that happens for a lot of people during this time of the year, especially if they're very active in doing things and there's not very much to do, or a moment of peace from the craziness if you are one of the people that does an awful lot of things during the holiday season. Hopefully one or the other has applied to you and you've enjoyed the video. But yes, I'm hoping that anybody who is on break is enjoying their time off. Anybody who is still working at their jobs, on behalf of everybody who isn't working, we are very thankful for you doing a job over the holiday season when other people might be off. But yes, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.